In this video, I'm going to share with you guys one of the most interesting Neville Goddard lectures that I have found to date. I couldn't find the audio on this, so I'm going to read the transcript to you, but essentially this is Neville Goddard has an outer body experience. Well, he goes into one of his visions and it becomes real to him. He travels into a parallel reality and it becomes so real to him that he actually sees, people in this parallel reality, and he tries talking to them and telling them that they're in a dream. That he actually tells them, "You are dreaming right now." And then he grabs an object in this parallel reality because he doesn't know it's real because he's in his imagination. He thinks it's vision, that he's not really in another real world, but he is. So he grabs an object and he's holding it in his hand, and he's trying to show the people that they're dreaming, that this isn't real. But then he realizes the object that he grabs is real. And then once he does that, he realizes that he is in a parallel reality just like the one we're living in now. It's just parallel to us. It's a world just like this world. And then he realizes that, and then he's like, okay, I got to get back to my body. So then he's trying to get back to this world. He's trying to get back to our world, our reality, in his body where he's laying down in bed, and he can't do it. And then he remembers while he's in this parallel reality that feeling is the secret. He says, I got to get back to there because my wife's laying next to me in bed while I'm imagining and having this vision. I got to get back to her. So then he remembers feeling is the secret, and then he starts feeling his head on the pillow. He's laying down horizontal on his bed. Then he starts feeling himself laying back in bed while he's in this other world, this other three-dimensional world. And then he feels himself back into bed. Then he can't move his body at this point, but he's back in his body, but he's cataleptic. He's paralyzed. He can't move. And then he has to slowly start moving his fingers again to regain consciousness and consciousness of his body, or that connection with his body again. And it's just a really, really interesting. I really love this lecture that I have never heard the audio on this. So I'm going to share it with you, and I'm going to read that to you now. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Many years ago, while lying on my bed in Beverly Hills, I became aware I was seeing what I shouldn't see. I was looking at the interior of a plush hotel. Consciousness followed vision, and I found myself in the room, but I knew I was on the bed, so I went back to my bed. Still seeing the interior of the room, I returned and came back again. I must have done it 20 times. It was so much fun. I would enter the room, and it was just as real as this room, and then I would return to my bed. So Neville Goddard here is playing with his imagination. He's actually imagining himself leaving his body and actually exploring with his imagination in the imaginative world. So finally I said, regardless of the consequences, I am going to explore. So I went into the room. From the bed, it appeared to be about 30 by 20. But when I entered it with the decision to explore, the room closed in on me and became a third of itself, about 10 by 7. And I found it to be a dressing room of a large suite, beautifully done, but not occupied. I desired to go through the door, but not like something gossamer or unreal. I opened it with my hand and walked through, for I was solidly real to myself. So Neville Goddard's saying here that in his imagination, it felt very real to him. So when he was traveling out of his body in his imagination, it felt like completely real to him. Like in his imagination, it was real. Like he felt that it was completely a three-dimensional world, and it was solidly real to him. That's what he's saying here. Okay, so then I walked down the hall, which intersected the main corridor. All the lights were on, and two ladies were walking towards me. So Neville Goddard's now in his imaginal act, or somewhat of a lucid dream, and now he sees two ladies walking towards him. Okay, now here's Neville. Now I knew this began as a dream, and I knew all ends run true to origin. So if the origin is a dream, this is a dream. I said to the ladies, this is a dream. This whole vast world is a dream. They were afraid of me. Well, who wouldn't be afraid of a man who walks up to you and tells you this whole vast world is a dream? They got just as far as they could from me and walked right next to the wall, duck style, one behind the other, looking at me very suspiciously. Then I saw an object hanging from space. It reminded me of a similar light fixture I had seen in a friend's home. So I said to them, "Look, see this. Look at this." So he's telling the ladies now. He grabs this, a light fixture. So Neville Goddard's saying, look at this. And he's grabbing a light fixture, looking at these two ladies and telling them that this is a dream, trying to convince them. And then he says, "Then I held it. To my surprise, it wasn't unreal." The object, so he's saying the light fixture wasn't unreal. He grabs it and it's solid. So then he says, "It wasn't memory image. It was solid. It was real." Well, they look one last time at me and darted into the main room. So the two ladies now are running from Neville Goddard because they think he's crazy. Here I am standing alone holding onto this fixture. I said to myself, "Neville, you know this is a dream. The origin is a dream. Therefore, the end is a dream. Come on, wake up." I closed my eyes to the obvious, held the fixture, opened my eyes again, and I'm still standing there inside the dream, inside of his vision. So he's not able to wake up at this point. How am I going to get back to my room in Beverly Hills? There was no place I could go to take me back. But I remembered feeling is the secret. So now Neville Goddard's in his vision, and he's holding onto this fixture, trying to get out of this lucid dream or this vision that he's in. And so he realizes, he remembers, he becomes conscious of the feeling is the secret. So he remembers the feeling is a secret. So I imagined my head was on a pillow. So he's feeling himself back into his real body in the three-dimensional physical world now. So now he's feeling that his head is on the pillow. And he says, "When I could feel a pillow under my head, I suddenly felt myself in a horizontal position." So he's feeling himself, his head on the pillow again. So he's now back in the horizontal position on the bed, but he's not quite back yet. So I could feel the pillow, but I was cataleptic. That means basically he's paralyzed while he's laying there. He knows he's back in bed and his head's on the pillow, but he's not able to move his body. So I couldn't open my eyes, move a hand, or move a finger. I am a living being in a dead body. I said to myself, they will find the body tomorrow morning, and because I am insured to prove nobody took my life, they would have to cut it up to find out why I died, like an autopsy. They always have to ask that question, and even if they can't find the answer, they'll give it a name anyways. I couldn't open my eyes, but in about 15 or 20 seconds, with great effort, I could move my little finger. Then my hand. We were sleeping in a double bed, so I pushed my left hand out and felt the warmth of my wife's body. And at that, I knew I was back in my bed. In another 15 or 20 seconds, with great effort, I opened my eyes and everything in the room returned to consciousness. Now I stepped into a world just as real as this. I am telling you, there are worlds within worlds within worlds. And they are all here existing right now. It's just like turning on a radio. You turn it ever so slightly and you have a new wavelength and a new station bringing something entirely different, yet they are not interfering with each other. These worlds are all here right now, and they are peopled just as we are peopling this world. And they are just as real as this. I seemed to walk into it, but the same area permeated the bed, and the bed did not obstruct it. And that world into which I stepped did not obstruct the house where I lived in Beverly Hills. I tell you, the facts are the flood. That's the deluge. There was no other flood. We are actually inundated with the facts of life, and we change them every day. Today, this is a cause of so and so. Tomorrow, it's another cause, and the next day, still another. We believe these causes to be facts, and we worship facts. All things are in the human imagination. Man is all imagination, and God is man and exists in us, and we in him. The eternal body of man is the imagination, and that is God himself. There is no other God. It's all your own wonderful human imagination. The one thing the whole vast world aches for is the awakening of the imagination. When imagination is awakened within you, You are set free from the horrors which we call the world of nature. For nature is simply that principle on which defends or depends the sameness of form in transmitted life. All right, guys, that is the end of this excerpt. I really wanted to share this one because I really love the way that Neville Goddard went into his vision and actually traveled into a parallel reality, and it's actually was stuck there trying to get back, and he realized that feeling was the secret, and then he felt himself back into the world that he began in, with his wife in the bed before he went into his imaginal act and actually transferred his body or his spirit into another parallel reality. And then he had to get back, and the way that he was conversing with the two ladies that he saw that thought he was crazy. They thought they were living in a real world, but they actually were, because Neville Goddard actually grabbed the picture and it was real. So he was actually in another world just like our world, but he got there with his imagination, using his imagination and his vision. He traveled to another reality just like ours, and I also believe that it's also being shown, with quantum physics now, and it just shows how far ahead Neville Goddard was from his time. That he was stating all these things that are now being shown with quantum physics. So Neville Goddard was just way ahead of his time. Anyway, guys, I love you guys very much. And if you guys like me to continue to read these, let me know again in the comment box below and give me a like on this video. I really appreciate it, you guys. And I love you guys, and I will see you guys tomorrow.